Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about pain. Pain will make you see the world differently. Pain has a way of teaching you lessons you didn't ask to learn and giving you strength you didn't even know you had. But one thing I've learned in my life, through my own mistakes, through my own experiences, is this. Confronting the person who hurt you rarely gives you the healing you're looking for. I'm telling you, it's like expecting a fire to put itself out by adding more gasoline. You go in thinking you're going to feel better, thinking you're going to get some closure, but instead, you just end up reopening a wound that was trying to heal. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about pain. Pain will make you see the world differently. Pain has a way of teaching you lessons you didn't ask to learn and giving you strength you didn't even know you had. But one thing I've learned in my life, through my own mistakes, through my own experiences, is this. Confronting a person who hurt you rarely gives you the healing you're looking for. I'm telling you, it's like expecting a fire to put itself out by adding more gasoline. You go in thinking you're going to feel better, thinking you're going to get some closure, but instead you just end up reopening a wound that was trying to heal. Now, I know how it is. You rehearse that speech in your head 100 times. You got every word lined up like soldiers. You thinking, when I see them, I'm going to tell them exactly how they made me feel. I'm going to make them understand. But here's the thing, y'all. Most of the time, the person who hurt you already knows what they did. They just don't care enough to fix it. That's why the confrontation won't heal you. You're looking for an apology from a person who doesn't have the character to give you one. And when they can't give you what you're looking for, you walk away feeling worse than before. See, pain changes people. It can make you bitter, it can make you guarded, but it can also make you wise. And wisdom says, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is to keep your mouth shut and keep it moving. Not because you're scared, not because you're weak, but because you've decided your peace of mind is more valuable than proving a point. When you confront somebody, you're not just showing them how you feel, you're giving them another opportunity to hurt you. Think about it. If they were careless with your heart the first time, what makes you think they'll handle it gently the second time? I've been there, y'all. I've gone back to the same folks thinking maybe they'll finally hear me out. And you know what happened? They just gave me more proof that they were never the ones I should have trusted in the first place. You can't control how people treat you, but you can control what you allow in your life. You can't force someone to value you, to understand you, or to care about you the way you care about them. But you can choose to step back, take your dignity, and walk out of that situation with your head held high. Because real strength is not in confrontation. Real strength is in restraint. Here's what I've learned. Life has its own way of confronting people for you. The same way they hurt you, life will make sure they feel that pain in some other way. You don't have to be the judge, the jury, and the punishment. Time will do that for you. But if you go chasing that moment of confrontation, you're going to waste your energy, you're going to waste your emotions, and sometimes you're even going to waste your self-respect. When pain hits you, you got two choices. Either you let it consume you, or you let it shape you into someone wiser, stronger, and more focused. And if you choose to be wise, you'll realize that some battles ain't worth fighting, some conversations ain't worth having, and some people ain't worth chasing. You will learn that silence is not empty. Silence is full of answers. Silence says, I see you for who you are, and I'm choosing my peace over your chaos. So the next time you're tempted to confront the person who hurt you, remember this. Healing doesn't come from them. It comes from you. And the sooner you stop looking for them to fix what they broke, the sooner you'll start building something better for yourself. Confronting someone who hurt you might feel like the right thing in the heat of the moment, but it's almost always a trap you set for yourself. It's like taking a fresh wound, one that's just starting to heal, and dumping salt right into it. You're not soothing the pain, you're making it sting even more. People think that by speaking their mind to the person who hurt them, they'll somehow get relief, closure, or even justice. But in reality, you're handing that person the keys to your emotions all over again, letting them decide how you feel when you walk away. When you confront them, you give them another chance to twist the knife. They might deny everything, they might make excuses, they might even turn it around on you and act like you're the one who's wrong. And when that happens, all you've done is give them another opportunity to damage your peace. That's the thing about confrontation with the wrong people. They're not coming to the table to listen. They're coming to defend themselves and protect their ego. And once ego gets involved, truth doesn't stand a chance. I've learned that people who hurt you rarely see themselves as the villain in your story. In their mind, they're either justified, misunderstood, or completely innocent. So when you confront them expecting them to admit their wrongdoing, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. That moment you were hoping would bring you healing might just end up leaving you more frustrated, more angry, and more hurt than before. The truth is, you can't make someone feel sorry. You can't make them regret their actions if they're not built that way. Some folks don't even think twice about the damage they caused, and confronting them won't suddenly give them empathy. All it will do is remind you how little they value you. And when that realization hits, it's like reopening the same wound you've been trying to close. Think about the power shift here. You walk into that confrontation with your emotions on the line, with your heart open, hoping to get something meaningful out of it. But the moment you do that, you put the control back in their hands. If they give you the apology you're looking for, you feel better. If they don't, you feel worse. Either way, your emotional state ends up depending on them, and that's a dangerous place to be. Instead of confronting them, there's a better move. Protect your energy. Protect your peace like it's your most valuable possession, because it is. The more you engage with people who hurt you, the more you let them influence your mood, your day, and even your self-worth. The greatest revenge you can have is to keep living, keep growing, and keep shining without them having any access to you. When you pull your presence away, you're sending a louder message than any confrontation ever could. See, silence speaks volumes. Distance speaks volumes. Walking away and refusing to let them back into your space says, I'm not giving you another chance to do what you've already done. It tells them that you've chosen to protect yourself instead of proving yourself. And that's real strength. The kind that doesn't need an audience or a debate. And here's the beautiful part. The less you confront, the more you conserve your energy for the things and people that actually matter. Life becomes lighter when you stop carrying the burden of making someone see your pain. Because let's be real, some people will never see it, and others will pretend they don't just so they don't have to take responsibility. So before you walk into that conversation thinking it's going to give you peace, ask yourself if you're ready for the possibility that it won't. Ask yourself if you're okay with them walking away unchanged while you're left holding the same hurt, maybe even worse than before. If the answer's no, then the smartest thing you can do is keep your distance, heal in your own way, and never give them another opportunity to write a chapter in your story. People got this thing twisted. They think that if you stay quiet, you're weak. They think that if you don't clap back, if you don't argue, if you don't show your teeth, then you're letting someone walk all over you. But silence, when used right, is not weakness at all. Silence is discipline. Silence is knowing your worth so well that you don't feel the need to defend it to anybody. Silence is the decision to guard your peace like it's the most valuable treasure you own, because it is. See, when you choose silence, you're making a statement without saying a word. You're telling the world, I'm not going to waste my energy trying to explain myself to people who are committed to misunderstanding me. And trust me, there are folks out here who will never hear you no matter how loud you get. They don't want to understand, they just want to argue. And you've got better things to do with your life than feed into their chaos. Here's the thing, every time you react, you give away a little piece of your control. If someone can push your buttons and get you to explode, they own you in that moment. They're not just taking your time, they're taking your power. Silence flips that script. Silence says, I'm in control here. You don't get to decide how I feel or how I move. And that's a level of self-respect most people never learn to have. Now, don't get me wrong, silence is not about bottling everything up and letting people mistreat you. It's about knowing when a conversation is pointless, when a battle is already lost before it begins, and when your energy is better spent on yourself instead of proving something to someone who doesn't matter. That's not weakness, that's maturity. That's choosing your future over your feelings in the moment. I've seen people burn themselves out trying to get closure from people who couldn't even give them honesty. They argue, they plead, they go back and forth, thinking that if they just explain it one more time, they'll finally be heard. But some folks will never hear you because admitting you're right means they have to admit they were wrong. And their pride won't let them do that. Silence protects you from wasting your breath in those situations. And here's something a lot of people don't realize. Silence is a mirror. It forces people to sit with themselves. When you stop responding, stop engaging, stop explaining, it leaves them alone with their own behavior. They can't distract themselves with your reaction. They have to deal with their own actions. And for some people, that's more uncomfortable than any word you could ever throw at them. There's power in not reacting. It shows that you've mastered the art of not letting someone else dictate your mood. It shows that you've learned the difference between what deserves your attention and what doesn't. And in a world full of people quick to speak, quick to argue, quick to attack, the one who stays calm holds the real advantage. People might call you cold, they might say you're heartless, but that's only because they don't understand the strength it takes to stay silent. It's easy to snap back, it's easy to scream, it's easy to match someone's energy when they're coming at you, but it's hard, it's real hard to hold your tongue, to stand tall, and to let the noise pass you by without dragging you into it. That's the kind of strength that's invisible to most people, but it's the kind that keeps you sane. Silence gives you space to think. It gives you time to heal. It keeps you from saying things you might regret later. And it sends a message, not just to the person who hurt you, but to yourself. that you value your peace more than you value winning an argument. That's self-respect. That's control. That's power. When somebody hurts you, the first instinct is to address it right there, right then. You feel that rush of emotion, your heart's racing, your mind's spinning, and you think the only way to get clarity is to talk it out immediately. But what I've learned over the years is that time and distance will tell you more about the truth than any heated conversation ever could. You don't see the full picture when you're standing right in the middle of the storm. You got to step back to see what's really going on. Time has a way of peeling back the layers. When you're not talking to someone every day, you start noticing things you couldn't see before. The excuses that didn't sound so bad in a moment start to sound ridiculous. The behaviors you overlooked start to stand out like red flags. That's the gift of distance. It clears your vision. You can't always see the truth when you're close enough to feel the heat. You got to walk away from the fire before you can see just how big the flames really are. This has also changed the way you feel. When you're in the moment, hurt and anger can blur everything, but give it a little time and your emotions settle. That's when you start to realize what's worth your energy and what's not. Sometimes the things that felt huge in the moment turn out to be small. Other times the things you thought you could live with turn out to be deal breakers. Either way, time gives you perspective, and perspective is priceless. Here's the problem with heated conversations. When both people are emotional, they're not listening to understand. They're listening to respond. Words get sharper, tempers get hotter, and before you know it, you've said things you can't take back. That's why rushing to confront someone doesn't work. You're too close to the situation to see it clearly, and they're too defensive to hear you clearly. But when you give it time, you give yourself a chance to heal enough to speak from a place of clarity instead of pain. And sometimes when you give it enough distance, you realize you don't even need that conversation at all. The truth starts showing itself without you having to do anything. You start to see patterns in their actions. You notice how they treat other people, and it confirms everything you were feeling. You don't have to demand the truth from them because life has a way of revealing it when you're paying attention. It's also in the quiet time apart that you discover your own strength. You learn that you can survive without their explanations. You can be okay without their validation. And you start to understand that closure doesn't always come from them. Sometimes closure comes from you deciding that you've had enough and moving forward. That's the kind of closure nobody can take from you. Time will also show you who people really are when they're not performing for you. Some folks can put on a good act for a while, but distance breaks the performance. If they cared, they'd show it even when you're not around. If they didn't, that will become clear too. Time reveals whether their effort was genuine or just a convenience. And when you see it for what it really is, you'll know exactly how to move forward without needing another word from them. The best part is, time and distance don't just show you the truth about them, they show you the truth about yourself. You'll see how much you've grown, how much stronger you've become, and how much better you are at protecting your peace. You'll realize that not every situation deserves your immediate reaction, and that sometimes the smartest move you can make is to just step back, watch, and let the truth come out on its own. There's a lot of people out here walking around thinking they've got to get even to feel better. Somebody hurts them, lies to them, betrays them, and their first thought is, I'm going to make them pay. But here's what I've learned. Revenge might make you feel good for a minute, but it won't give you peace for a lifetime. The real win is when you get to a place where you don't even care about getting back at them. You just live your life so well that it speaks for itself. See, when you're out here plotting revenge, you're still tied to that person. Your energy is still going toward them. Your thoughts are still wrapped up in them. And in a way, they're still controlling your life. They're still taking up space in your head. That's not freedom. That's just another way of letting them win. But when you let go, when you focus on building yourself up instead of tearing them down, that's when you really take your power back. Nothing hits harder than silence and success. You don't have to tell them you've moved on. You show them by living a life that doesn't include them. You let them watch from a distance while you grow, while you shine, while you become everything they thought you couldn't be. That's the kind of revenge that doesn't just last a moment, it lasts a lifetime. And let's be real, life has a funny way of balancing the scales without your help. The pain they caused you, life's going to find a way to bring that lesson back to them. You don't have to play judge, jury, and executioner. Karma's got a way of doing its job, and it doesn't need you getting in the way. In fact, the more you try to take matters into your own hands, the more you end up slowing down your own healing. Here's the truth. Revenge keeps you stuck in the same chapter, rereading the same lines over and over. You can't step into your future while you're busy replaying the past. The best way to win is to write a new story, one where they're not even a character anymore. You stop giving them credit for your pain and you start giving yourself credit for your strength. When you move on and live better, you're not just proving something to them, you're proving something to yourself. You're showing yourself that you can rise above the mess. You can be more than the hurt they caused. And the more you focus on your own growth, the less their actions even matter. One day you wake up and realize you don't think about them anymore. And that's the sweetest kind of victory there is. I've seen people ruin their own blessings because they were so busy trying to get even. They let bitterness eat away at their joy. They let resentment keep them from trusting anyone new. But when you make the decision to let go, to focus on becoming a better version of yourself, you start to attract better people, better opportunities, and better days. That's when you realize they didn't really take anything from you. They just pushed you toward a new level you might never have reached otherwise. And trust me, people notice. They notice when you've moved on. They notice when they can't get a reaction out of you anymore. They notice when you're too busy winning in life to even acknowledge their existence. And for a lot of them, that stings more than anything you could have done to get back at them, because deep down they wanted to see you stuck. They wanted to see you broken. But instead, you turned your pain into fuel and built something beautiful with it. A lot of people think walking away means you've given up. They see it as surrender, as if you've lost the fight. But the truth is, walking away isn't losing at all. It's one of the strongest moves you can make, because when you walk away, you're not running from the battle. You're choosing not to fight one that isn't worth your time, your energy, or your peace. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. See, some battles are designed to drain you, not grow you. They don't have a finish line. They don't have a resolution. They just go in circles until you've got nothing left to give. And if you're smart, you'll recognize those battles early and step out before you lose yourself in the fight. Walking away means you've decided that your well-being matters more than proving a point. And that's a decision that takes courage. People will try to convince you that you need to stand your ground no matter what, that you've got to show them or teach them a lesson. But here's the thing, not every lesson has to come from you. Sometimes life will teach them in ways you never could. You're not responsible for making someone understand their wrongs. You're responsible for protecting your peace. When you walk away, you telling yourself, I'm not going to spend my life explaining, defending, or begging someone to see my worth. You already know your value, and you know it's not up for debate. If someone can't see it, that's their loss, not yours. And staying in a place where you're constantly trying to prove yourself, that's the real defeat. The win is in knowing when to let go. It's not easy though. Walking away means you've got to fight the urge to defend yourself, to get that last word, to make sure they know you're right. But if you give in to that urge every time, you'll stay stuck in situations that steal your joy. And every minute you spend in those situations is a minute you could have spent building a better life. I've been in situations where I knew deep down that the argument, the relationship, the business deal, it was all going nowhere. And still, my pride told me, don't walk away, you can win this. But I had to learn the hard way that not all wins are worth the cost. You can win an argument and still lose your peace, your respect for yourself, and your time. That's not winning. That's trading something priceless for something temporary. Walking away also gives you space to grow. When you step out of a toxic battle, you give yourself room to breathe, to heal, to think clearly. And once you're on the outside, you start to see things for what they really are. You realize how much energy you were spending just trying to survive the situation instead of actually living your life. That's when you understand that leaving wasn't losing, it was freedom. And here's the part most people don't realize. When you walk away, you actually take back control. Because as long as you're in that fight, the other person has power over your emotions. They can keep pulling you in, keep getting a reaction, keep feeding off your energy. But the moment you step out and refuse to engage, you take all that power back. They can't control what they can't reach. There's a peace that comes from walking away that no victory in a pointless fight could ever give you. It's the kind of peace that lets you sleep at night, knowing you chose yourself, you chose your future, and you chose your sanity over chaos. And the more you practice it, the more you'll see that it's not about losing, it's about winning in a way that matters.